Good evening from Dallas. Hope you all are doing great tonight. I just wanted to point out something that we tend to forget. Now remember, we think about people other than ourselves because the world we know realistically doesn't revolve around us. We don't have defense mechanisms in place to make sure that we only think about us and we only position ourselves mentally with our maps in our head. We only position ourselves to be the winner. We'll lie to ourselves. We don't do that, okay? The narcissist does. So what's funny is after you go no contact with them and then you grow, you figure out, you put some boundaries in place, and for an example, in my case, I put some boundaries in place and I've changed. I've gotten healthier. I see things more realistically. I see that I wasn't necessarily the problem in the whole relationship. So what happens though is the narcissist, it's been 2 years, right? The narcissist will still think that if you're going no contact with them, that you're actually punishing them. That's what's in their head. In other words, they still think that you still have this, you're still addicted to them, that you still have a crush on them, that you still adore them. Because they don't change, right? They stay the same. They don't have any introspection or reflection of maybe that they need to change, right? Why would you change if you don't feel like you need to? So it's really interesting to think that, this person, when they hoover you, they really think that you're the same person that you were a year ago, 5 years ago. Because they are, right? They're the same person. They don't change, so, and because they project and they don't have any introspection or any, they don't have the empathy to think that, well, maybe that person's thinking differently than me. And because of that, it just blows me away to think that they still believe that you have a crush on them, that you still see them the same way that you saw them 5 years ago or a year ago or 2 years ago. And so, again, if we go no contact with them, they think we're playing a game. They think, oh, this is just a game, but they really, deep down, they really love me. They really still are addicted to me. Because the narc is still kind of addicted to you. They will recycle you if they think they can get away with it. Because remember, they live in the shallow end. You're in the deep end. You're a deep thinker. You're a deep, not necessarily deep thinker, but your emotions run deep, okay? Because when you say something, you mean it. Words to you are expressions of emotions. Words to a narcissist are tools of their emotions. They are tools to get them to reduce their anxiety, to reduce and to inflate their self-esteem, where words to you, again, are expressions of you. They are who you are. And we're open and honest. You're open and honest. So you're not using words to manipulate, to try to get something. You're using your words are expressions of your inner core, right? I mean, and that's if you're really in touch with your feelings. And I'll tell you, if you're around these people enough, you will disconnect from your feelings, you'll disconnect from your gut, and you'll be in the shallow end, and your emotions will run only with fear and maybe happiness if they let you be happy. They'll give you some crumbs. They'll put you on the grind, where they'll just wear you down. And then when they see that you're about to leave, that's when they turn on the sweet part, the sweet mean cycle. They turn it on, and hey, I was only kidding, and come back, and maybe it was my fault after all. Of course, they never believe it's their fault. Words are just tools. They'll say anything. They'll say the right things, though. They're smart. They'll say things that work, okay? And believe it or not, they learned some of their romantic behaviors from watching movies. They will actually see something in a movie because, again, they don't really have that connection, so they got to fake it. But to them, they're just doing what everyone else is doing, right? I mean, nobody has deep emotions. That's all. They're just faking it because they think you're really faking it. They think when you're going no contact that it's some game. They think that when you're having feelings that you're actually pretty weak. They see you as being weak because, remember, to them it's win or lose. So if you're being weak, well, you're a loser. You're going to lose and they're going to win. You know, it's so oh, these people are just so incredible. So I did have some contact with my ex tonight because we went to the football game with the kids, and my son was playing. I sat with my daughter, and my daughter came up to the football game to see me, and I told my ex, I said, hey, I'll send her over after she sits with me for a while. And my daughter, I said, hey, you might want to go sit with your mom. She's like, I'm fine. She sat with me the whole game. But my daughter's 17, and I think she sees the difference. But again, I just want to keep everything copacetic, but not to the detriment of my health like I used to. My emotional health, my not so much my physical health in terms of, you know, any type of abuse like that, but not taking care of myself, feeling down. You know, when you don't feel good about yourself, you don't really tend to take very good care of yourself. Like, there were times where I didn't even brush my teeth. I didn't really shave or anything. I just felt so bad about myself. And I really thought it was me. I really thought, you know, I'm just this awful person, right? I didn't realize I was being manipulated to believe, to have these feelings, to generate this reaction that the narcissist wanted, which was a feeling of superiority. So how do they get that feeling of superiority? Well, they have to make you inferior. They have to make you feel inferior, so they have to get that expression from you. See, they're not there to hurt you. They're just there to make themselves feel better. And in order to make themselves feel better, somebody has to get hurt around them. And guess what? If you're the closest one around them, if you've been reliable supply that they can go and get that reaction out of you, then you're the lucky chosen one, right? Except I don't think you're so lucky. Oh, and when you start to step away, well, they change their tune, right? They flip it around to where either they're the victim and, you know, oh, I can't believe you did this to me again, and yada yada, and then we feel sorry for them, or they do the sweet thing, which they don't do as much. The longer the relationship goes on, it kind of changes into it kind of changes from that sweet stuff is really just in the beginning to get the commitment and get the lockdown. Once they get the lockdown, once they get you to like move in together, or put a down payment on a house, or merge bank accounts, do so, you know, if they can get you to do that one thing that they know will make you more committed, that's kind of when the sweet stuff kind of goes away, because you know, they've kind of got you. See, they're very, very astute on that. They know like a computer. They know how much they can push because they've experimented. They calculate things, okay? They're very calculating. Now, that's more with the covert narcs. The other ones, the overt narcs, they're not as so much calculating as they are, they have to get their emotions out immediately. They can't hold them in and calculate like some of the others can. But the somatics, the ones that are into their body, you know, like, hey, I'm Mr., you know, Mr. Party, Mr. I know everybody, and those are the people that they are more emotional. In other words, they're more they have to get their emotions out immediately. They can't just calculate and hold it in like the coverts can. I would rather be around an overt any day because I know what I'm dealing with. You know, I know that, hey, this guy's going to be, he's going to be, you know, if you don't say something his way, well, he's going to be like, oh, I can't believe you said that. You really hurt me. You know, of course they don't get hurt. They like the reactions. They like the, they just, it's all a game still to them, right? But that's their game, and they have to be good at it because they can't get their sense of who they are from internal sources. They have to get it externally. So they have to make you react a certain way. And if you react the way that they want, then that makes them feel better. If they want to feel superior, well, they have to make you feel inferior by putting you down. And then when you get the reaction that then when you react to their manipulationship of that, when they can get you to feel bad, they can put you in a circumstance where you question yourself. If they can do that, then they get that reaction out of you, then they feel better about themselves. So that's one way. And then the other way, of course, is, what is the other way? Wow. There's a lot of different ways. But the one thing that they want is they want to feel like they won. It's all about power and control, and they want to feel like they're in control. So the more you are in control, the more they feel out of control. You see how that relationship works? It's not a good one. It's not one where we both build together, and the more I build you up, the more you build me up. No, no, no. With them, it's I have to tear you down to build me up, because we're not operating from the same healthy self-esteem. We're not operating from the same playbook. So another reason to stay away from these people. And I don't know, it's just amazing to me that these people really don't change. Now, if I did say that they were going to change, I just said, and I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. I say they don't change. Emotionally, they don't change, but their bodies still do, right? We all get old. We all start sagging in different places. But the narcs, they can't comprehend that they're changing like that. I mean, they physically know they are, but then what they do is they have to lie to themselves even more as they get older. They have to tell themselves that they're, when they're 60, they have to tell themselves that they're this, they lie to people. They tell people that they're in their 40s still. And I've experienced that. I've been with a narc who, I think she was a narc, I don't know, but her picture did not match who she was. Okay, I met her for a coffee date, and she looked about 60, and she said she was 51. And and she was, tan, and she had the, I don't know, it was when I thought I was into dating, when I thought I should start dating, but yeah, so they and I don't know, again, I don't know if this woman was a narcissist, but I've read enough about it, I've seen it in stories enough that I've read that they really are, emotionally, they stay the same their entire lives. Once they're locked in at 5 years old or 12 years old, whenever whenever they experience that narcissistic injury where they have to build themselves up and lie to themselves to make themselves feel better, it becomes a habit. It becomes it's a defense mechanism, and they use that and rely on that, and they just start piling on all the denial. They deny everything. They just start piling on all the lies, and so their whole life becomes a lie, and that's part of them. And their brain is like Swiss cheese with all the holes of lies, I guess, as how you can look at it. They're just they just don't have, nothing's really complete with them. They don't have that sense of they have a sense of void of emptiness if they're alone. And I've told this to people before, but if you want to see somebody go crazy, put a narcissist on a deserted island by themselves, and you will see somebody that is a basket case, because they don't have other people to suck supply from, to become emotionally charged, to feel happy, to experience life, because they don't have any, they're devoid of everything. They've denied themselves so much that they're really sad cases. I mean, if you think about it. So that's my observation for tonight, is that you can see them 10 or 20 years later and they'll still be the same, same old person. But once you've had a peek behind the mask, and see, here's what we can do to make sure we're better about ourselves, and to make sure we have good boundaries, is that we have to look at where our focus is, and if we're healthy, we're going to look at all of the signs of the narcissist and realize that sometimes, or actually it becomes most of the time, they are not a healthy person. But the few times that they're great, that they're just life of the party or whatever, it's not coming from the same motivation as what you might think. But if we're not healthy and we think, oh, well, this is all it is, then we start believing the fairy tale that the narcissist has. Where if we're healthy, we don't have to believe a fairy tale. We just know what to look out for and to see the right signs from somebody that is a healthy person. So that's my 2 cents. Let me see what you guys got here. So yeah, they have to have their posse, right? They have to have their flying monkeys with them. And their connections with their flying monkeys, usually the flying monkeys haven't seen behind the mask. And the flying monkeys don't get too close, they're on the periphery, right? The narcissist has to find that one island of supply where they can go to over and over again and get either money or be able to, like what they do is they try to go out and get primary supply, where they try to like pick up somebody in the bar or try to do something where they're always trying tricks, right? They're always trying to see if they can pull one over on somebody, or if they can get this girl to sleep with them or this guy to sleep with them. They're always trying to do that con, right? To make people think that they're somebody they're not. Well, if I can just be this person, that I can convince this person that I'm this great person, and they'll buy it, that I'm the sex object of, even though I'm 60, that I'm the sexiest person around, and they'll think I'm 45. If I can do that, then I can get my supply on, right? Well, if the narcissist goes out and fails to do that night, then what they do is they'll go back to their secondary supply, which some people would think is their primary, but that's their rock, that's their island. So that's either their husband or their wife or their girlfriend that they've managed down enough to where the girlfriend or boyfriend, whoever that person is, I guess you would call it the person they're going steady with, they manage that person down to where that behavior becomes acceptable, and they know that person, they've trained them and conditioned them enough to know that that person will always take them back. At least that's what the narc thinks. Now that person, the study person, is probably usually you or I, because we're the ones that got really close to the narc and got behind the mask, right? The people on the peripheries can still get hurt too, but the periphery people are not as attached to them, although some narcs, when they have the sexual thing, that can be very devastating to the person that doesn't know they're just on the periphery, that they're just another source of supply. They think, because the narc has said all these things like, oh, we're soulmates and all this, if they're convinced of that, and then they learn the truth, or the narc is the narc and goes back to their island of supply, their regular source, then the person on the periphery also gets hurt too, right? So yeah, it's interesting, and they're always harvesting their sources of supply. They're always trying to get better supply out of what they have. And if you're one of the people that is in their supply chain, if you're one of those people and you see behind the mask and they start sensing that, then they have to back off a little bit and then triangulate you a little bit to let you know how valuable they are, right? Because if think about it, they have another girlfriend that's calling them and you're with them, and it's the wife or something, then you're going to think they're more valuable. Wow, these people really want this guy, right? He's a really good guy, right? I mean, he's a really desired guy, right? Because the narc wants you to think that. That's how they increase their market value. That's how they do that with triangulation. And I know you guys have heard a lot of this before. Maybe some of you haven't, but it's always good to keep it fresh in your head, I think, especially when you're going through all these changes, because it really isn't you. It's all about them. And if you're dating somebody or you find out, back off, put your boundaries up, and, here's one thing I see in this group, and I see it in all the groups, right? Here's one thing I see. I see this post and I almost shake my head, right? And I didn't always do this, but now I do after having all this experience. Somebody will post that, I think I saw it the other night, that oh, he's with this girl now, and she texted me the most disgusting stuff about how they're having sex all the time, yada yada. And he sent, or this girl that the narc was seeing sent a picture of herself, all like, you know, sexy, and like this picture of her in bed. I mean, it just hurt this girl to no end, right? That this girl who was dating the narc, because I guess she saw some pictures of her before in the narc's phone or something, would do this, right? Well, somebody in our group looked up the photo that was sent of this woman that texted her and put it into Google Images. Now, you can search an image in Google Images, just like you can search a word and find out all the stuff. You can put an image into Google. Say it's a picture of a girl with a clown nose mask on that's green, okay? You can put that in Google Images, and Google will search and find that where that image is. Like, they can say, oh, this came from a clown show in Vegas, you know? Like, you could get a picture of something and go, I wonder who took this picture. You can put it into Google Images, and you can usually trace the source back. Well, it turns out that this source for this image was some porn site from Indonesia or something. So, and so what probably happened is the narc made up this story about this girl and got a Google Voice number. It's a text number that you can get for free on Google. Texted her, and then put, oh, I'm his lover and all this nasty stuff, right? And it made her feel like crap, but she didn't realize that it was the narc that was doing this. In other words, it was him all along. He's just playing. I mean, if they can't get the supply, they'll make it up. They'll try to triangulate you to let you know you can't hurt them, that they're above you. And if it works, maybe you desire them more, right? Because, wow, this hot girl who turns out to be an Asian porn star, who's not even real, okay? Wow, this hot girl is with him, right? So you should really like him too. So my point being is that anytime I hear, well, the narc said this, or the narc told me this, and I can't believe that they would, you know, well, there's a reason you can't believe it, or it seems very hurtful because it's either a bald-faced lie, or it's a little bit of truth. They're really good at this, taking a little bit of truth and wrapping a big ball of a lie around it. So they can take the most innocuous moment, the most boring, mundane moment, and they can do this on the upside too, right? They can make a picnic feel like a festival, right? When you're with them and they're love bombing you, and oh my God, look at that cloud up there. Oh, isn't that incredible? Oh, hey, let's have some more wine. Oh, look, that cloud. Oh, I'm just laughing. That reminds me, you know. And they can just be the most fun people to be around, right? Because they can take a little bit, something boring, right? Something, a cloud's going in the sky, and they can make up the most glorious story about it, or just talk about it, because they use words to get what they want. And they're good at it because they do it with a little bit of truth, and they put a big lie around it too, right? Because words are tools to them. You know, it reminds me of this old newspaper article that and the tabloids would do this. They would take something very boring, and they would make a big story about it to sell newspapers. It's kind of what the narcs do. So there was a thing about how it was something like, you know, find out why Natalie Wood isn't talking to Elizabeth Taylor. You know, and it's got some big, it's on the headline, right? It's at the checkout counters back in the 60s or whatever. And I'm just making this up, but you'll see my point. So there's this big headline, you know, and then there's all these words about the story about, you know, about Elizabeth Taylor and what she's doing in her career, and then Natalie Wood or whatever, and what she's doing. And by the time you read the story, what's all done is, the bottom line is, they've never met each other, so they've never talked to each other. So that's why they're not talking. But the tabloids make it sound like it's a big story. Well, that's kind of what the narcs do. They take something really mundane, or something that has one meaning, and then they take it. It's truth. What they're saying is true, but they take it way out of context and put all these things in there that didn't exist, and that's how they live. Except they do this not just to you and me, but they do it to themselves too. And if they tell themselves enough, or if they tell it to you enough, and you believe it because they get the reaction that they want, that you believe it. They can tell if you're believing something, because remember, they lie about everything. They're very sensitive to that. So if you believe it, then they believe it. Then it's true. That's how truth works for them. Wow, I'm just going on about all this stuff. They're so incredible. They're foreign to us. We can't understand them, and we try to. God knows we try to. And I've got a lot better understanding than I ever did. And the more I understand, the more I realize it really wasn't me. It was all about them, which should make you feel better. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a bummer that, wow, they were in it just for them all along. Like you weren't, a lot of the stuff they said to you might not be real, right? Well, that's good, because if you're like me, maybe 10% of the stuff they used to say was good stuff, and then the other 90% was just, attack, or just wear you down, covert things that you may not even seen, right? So that's good. I'd rather have all of them be lies, even the 10%, if I knew that everything was a lie, right? In other words, if somebody tells you 9 things and they're really bad things about you, like they make you feel like crap, and then they tell you one thing that makes you feel good, well, I would rather have all of it be lies, because I would rather get rid of 9 things. I would like to keep the one, but you know what? If I can get rid of 9 bad things to that one good thing, it's not a good ratio. You know what I'm saying? And so, like when you first meet them, the ratio's the other way around. They got 9 good things, and then maybe a little bad thing. Maybe that's when the mask slipped, or maybe that's when they felt like they were losing control over you. Maybe that's before they had nailed you down, with a commitment, with the new house together, going on a big vacation together, going on a cruise together, whatever. So that the ratios just get all wacky. They just get less and less and less in your favor, and more in the narcs, because the narc is working on that. The narc is trying to dominate every area and trying to control every aspect of your life as much as you will let them. Boundaries, if you put up a boundary, they're going to try to go around it, through it, knock it down, go sideways around it, jump over it. You'll notice that, right? They'll test you. They test you, and you'll be like, why do you keep asking me those questions? Well, they're testing. They're trying to figure out how they can break you. And once they know your code, they don't think you change. They think they got you. But then there's a little snag. Maybe you discover something. Okay, so they got to figure that one out. Well, it's a challenge. I'll tell her this or that. Whatever you can believe, whatever they can get you to believe, whatever they can, when they can figure out your code, part of the code that they figure out with you is what your weaknesses are and how to make you believe something. Like if they know that the combination to make you believe something is to spin it back on them and say, well, maybe I was wrong, and then you let your guard down, and then they put it back on you that it's your fault. Maybe that's the combination that wins for them. Remember, they've been doing this for a long time. They've been doing this since they were kids. They learn all the tricks. They really do. So, anyways, guys, I wanted to just run that by you. I think this is a good discussion. And, hopefully you're no contact, because you'll see that it's never going to end up how you want it to. That dream that they put out in front of you a while ago, it doesn't come true. It doesn't. And then they'll always, when they feel you pulling away, they'll reference it again. Or remember, hey, we're going to do this together, right? Yeah, well, check your fact check, right? Like the politicians now, right? We need to fact check that. Well, if we fact check the narcs, see, a lot of us, I know I was kind of ignoring the facts because I didn't want to think that, I put a big commitment in. I put in 20 years of a marriage, a house together. I mean, there's a lot of stuff riding on the line that, wow, what if I'm wrong? What if this person is not who she says she is, you know? But I'm telling you, it's all good when you get away from them, when you know the truth and you know how to deal with them. You see them for what they are, just really messed up individuals that don't feel sorry for them, okay? Because if they'll sense that too, right? They'll take advantage of that. Oh, they feel sorry for me. That's a weakness. I'm going to take advantage of that. Hey, you know, just take care of yourself, you know, figure out what you're all about, because you're probably disconnected from yourself. If you've been around them for any length of time, they will do that. They will suck that energy away from you, and you won't know who you are anymore, because they want to control. They've got the remote, right? They've got the remote in their hands. And you're sitting there watching TV and you're like, oh, I like this show. And then they're like, change the channel. That's what they do. I'll get her upset. Let me change the channel. Unless it's something they like, right? Oh, I want to keep it on this. And you're like, hey, can we change the channel? Nope. We got to watch this. Yeah, well, now you got the remote back. And what you're going to do once you get that remote back is you're going to stay in these groups. You're going to get support. And you're going to change out those old crusty alkaline batteries. Sometimes the remote wouldn't work, blah, blah, blah. Where you're going to get some new ultra Duracell copper top, you know, Energizer bunny, you know, flipping batteries. You're going to put those in there, man, and that remote's going to be smoking. You're going to barely press that button down, and you're going to change the channel. You're going to have so much control over your life. You're going to remember, like, holy cow, I didn't realize I had lost so much control. I didn't realize that I had given up so much. And when you get it back, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. You really do. I think for me personally, getting back the sense of control, just being able to, like, take a shower when I wanted without having to feel any sort of guilt. The sense of control of eating what I wanted without somebody picking apart what I'm eating. I mean, that's a sense of control, right? I'm controlling what's being inputted into my brain, right? So I'm telling you guys, and they know this too. The narcs deep down, they know this. Once you leave them and see the game, the con that they've been playing, they know, like, oh shoot, they know me pretty well now, right? But they got to test it out. And remember, in their head, they're lying to themselves that you're still the same you always were, right? You're easy supply. Well, they might know you're a little bit harder, but man, they get frustrated. And if it's too hard for them, they'll move on to some other supply, because they won't want to break that lie. They'll see, what they do is they walk away from you and look for other supply so they can keep that lie in their head alive, that you're easy supply. Well, if you're so easy, why don't they go for you? Well, the real world circumstances, you're ignoring them, you're being no contact with them. So what they're going to do is if they sense that, if they don't want to get hurt, right? They don't want to have that rage. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll find fresh supply, keep your illusion in their head that you're always going to be the same, you're easy supply. And so that's kind of what they do. So they don't forget about you. See, we can actually forget about them. For us, it's like we think about them 99% of the time the first few months, right? Always on our mind. But after a couple years, we really don't think about them. Well, maybe they only think about us 10% of the time. I think that's what I figured out from reading and everything. As time goes on, I would believe that they think about us about 10% of the time still. When we might think about them, we might never think of them again. They still think about us, right? I mean, they don't change. So if they're thinking of us about 10% of the time, well, even after the hoovering, they're still going to think about us. They're going to think of us as the same person that we were when they first met us. Easy supply. Because they have to lie in their head that we are. Because they can figure out easy supply. And so they will avoid us. They will avoid you when you've changed, so that they can keep that illusion in their head that you're still the same easy target that you were. I know I mean, logically it doesn't make sense, Because if you were an easy target, then they would go after you again. Well, that's what the hoovering's for. They test it out. And the moment that they figure out that you're not buying it, they go back into the illusion and think, okay, well, something's going on. They make up some excuse. Oh, well, she must be tired, or, she must have that new boyfriend, but she really deep down, she loves me still. So they go back into that illusion, and that's why they can hoover again in like a couple months, because they think you haven't changed. Well, maybe she's with that boyfriend, but I know deep down she really's still easy supply to me. Well, of course they don't say that. Oh, I know deep down she still really loves me. She'd rather be with me than any other person because I'm so special. So that's where they lie to themselves, Oh, wow. It's been fun. So you guys getting the big picture now? You getting the point that it really isn't you? It really isn't you. What they said to you were all lies. But I would still believe the good stuff, okay? I wouldn't try to discount that, but definitely the negative stuff. But realize a lot of it is just lies. Lies all for them. But they're really good about taking a lie and making it sound like it's legitimate. They take an emotional, what is it? They take an emotional, I want to say outburst, but they take something where they have to release that emotion. You know how we all get angry and we just blurt it out or whatever? Well, they're very poor at controlling their emotions. They're poor at controlling their emotions, but they're experts at presenting their emotions. So what they do is they're able to mask their anger with pretend logic. It sounds legit. It sounds like they're really saying something that seems legit on the surface, but if you analyze the logic behind what they're telling you, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up at all. But the reason they said it was to bring you down. They say something to get an emotional reaction out of you, but they can make it sound so legitimate that you don't catch it. And the coverts are really good at it. And the other people, when they say that to you, you might feel really crappy. And the other people around you are like, why is she feeling so crappy? They don't get it. They don't understand that manipulation because that's how good the coverts are at hiding it. I mean, it's amazing. And when you've got 30 years of doing this and you're constantly scheming things in your head and testing out reactions on people, guys, they wear themselves out. They are tired. I mean, their brains are always working, right? Have you ever been around them and you ask them a question and they got to filter it through like 8 different programs in their head and it takes them about 5 times longer to answer yes or no to something? And a lot of times they won't even say yes or no. They're like, do not commit, do not commit. So they won't commit. They'll ask you another question back. You just want a yes or no answer and they'll ask you another question back. That's because they're calculating. They have to go through 8 different layers of lies instead of just going right to the core. When somebody asks me a question, it goes right to my core. And I think, do I want this? Yes or no? Yes. When you ask them a question, it goes through 8 different layers of lies, who they're with, what the reaction will be, who they know, what was told yesterday, because the story always changes, right? And so it goes through all these things, and there's this pause. It's like this long pause. Now, when you're around them, the older they get, they reduce that pause because they've experienced, they know what to say next time, right? But instead of an instant response, you ask somebody a question and they say, oh yeah. You ask them a question, they go, yeah. So you ask them, hey, are you going to go to the ball game tomorrow? And they're like, well, here's the thing. How do you know Jim? I just asked you if you're going to the ball game. Yeah, I know Jim's going to be there, right? Oh, yeah, Jim's going to be there. Well, how do you know Jim? I mean, him and I, it's always about them, right? It's so they don't like to commit to anything. They don't like to be pinned down on anything because to them, that is a big sign of weakness. If you can be cornered to a narcissist, they're always afraid of being cornered because when they were kids, that's what they felt. That's how they were injured, emotionally. They either had people around them that were apathetic, or they had people that were telling them that they're pieces of crap. Basically, you had an adult abusing them, verbally abusing them, or physically or something, but telling them basically they're pieces of crap. Well, when you're a kid, you can't process things like you can as an adult. So if you're a kid and somebody tells you you're a piece of crap, you pretty much feel like you are. I mean, you don't have the cognitive reasoning skills yet to say, you know what, this person's really troubled. I'm 8 and dad is drinking, and when he drinks, that alters his his consciousness, and he becomes more abusive. No, when you're 8, your parent tells you you're crap. Your parents are God to you. Your parent tells you you're crap. You've got to have some defensive mechanism to compensate for that. So you build an imaginary person in your head that actually becomes you. Like if you're the narcissist, you're like, I'm not crap. I'm a great person. I am like a star football player. All these imaginations. And so there comes the calculating. Well, if I can get him to think I'm a great football player, I can get them, and then they get people to buy into the lie, and then it just piles on, blah, 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 blah. So it kind of runs in families too, if you notice that. But okay, so this is my run on soapbox tonight. I hope it helps some of you out to help you better understand that it really isn't you. I know I've said that several times before, but it really isn't. Love yourself. Give yourself a hug. Give yourself a break too. Don't be so hard on yourself. I was so hard on myself, guys. And you've been conditioned to be hard on yourself because somebody was telling you to be hard on yourself because they were hard on you. See, the narcissist is actually living, they're becoming the parent now. They want you to be the child, so they're actually reliving that abusive, say the example with the dad that, drank or whatever and it was very abusive. They're becoming the parent now and actually trying to get back at you. It's weird. It's a weird dynamic, but anyways, we'll go on to that in another video. But as always, guys, it's not your fault. Love you guys. I really do. I really do want you guys to get better. 2 years from me, and guys, I'm 100 times better. It's so much better. And I like, this is a big deal to me. Like, my empathy is like runneth over. My cup runneth over because I want to help you guys so bad. And I didn't get to express myself when I was with the narc. And now I get to tell you guys exactly how I felt, and it's helping, right? It's cool, I love it. All right. This is me over and out. Love you guys. Bye.